What's poppin', what's poppin', what's poppin'? Is your boy man back at it with an absolute banger in the beautiful city of San Francisco. And today we got a very, very important topic to discuss. How much should you be paying for an OZ of that good? For starters, depending what state you live in will determine how much you're gonna be paying for this. As an example, if you live in a recreational state where you can just walk down the street into a store and make a purchase, you're gonna have a much wider variety of options when it comes down to purchasing. And you know what? You might get lucky enough and run up on the plug that is beating all the local market pricing and offering you the best quality at a great price, beating the system and not having to pay all this extra money in taxes. One of the things about living in California is that you get absolutely whacked when you walk into a store and you make a purchase, mainly because of taxes. So due to such high taxes, everybody is upcharging, trying to get their money back because there's not a whole lot of profit by the time the product gets to the consumer, again, due to taxes. One of the most important subjects I want to cover is my own delusion of how much I thought you were supposed to be paying for this stuff. I was first introduced to like a different tier of quality maybe about 4 years ago. And at that time, I had my mind blown when I was told that these OZs costed anywhere from $300 all the way up to $500. I mean, God, there's $1,000 OZs out there, okay? And I was honestly, I want to call it delusional. I was delusional because I believed that they were worth that price. Now that the market has shifted, there's been a big change in the market. There is way more fire in the market. I think people started to understand, okay, why are these companies charging so much for these strains? A lot of it had to do with just how smooth the strain was to puff on. If it gave you really good white ash, if it melted absolutely fire, and it tasted great, they were gonna upcharge you. Now, I was under the impression that you had to be paying all this money for you to be able to get some okay shit, some good shit. And let me tell you something, I was wrong. I was so wrong because now I'm being offered things that are like $100, $120, $115, up some fire. And I literally just ran into this tier and this price point recently when I was in Fontana, and my cousin was like, yo, you want to hit up the plug? And I was like, yeah, how much are the zips? $120. And I was like, damn, 120? He's like, bro, and they puff crazy. That being said, I was like, all right, let's check it out. Bro, it was indoor, puffed insane, extremely clean ash, had all the melt you could want, and tasted amazing. And I was mind blown. I came to the realization that we've been getting scammed. We've been overpaying and been convinced that we had to pay so much money. And people used to tell me, oh, my plug could get me a fire zip for this much, for that much. And I used to be like, bro, it's because you ain't puffing on fire. But let me say something though. Let me add some context here. Most people are still not puffing on fire. All right, most people are still not puffing on fire. So for me to be able to taste something at that price point and it be that good and it be actual fire because I have spent the $400 or $500 for the other crazy zips they tried convincing me about, I'm gonna tell y'all, it is out there. It's a hard find. And I don't think every state you're at, you're gonna be able to find this tier I'm talking to you about, but it is out there. And it's amazing to see the shift in the market because this is what was going on before. There was people that had found how to get the optimal strain dialed in, how to get it a puff clean, and how to get it to get a perfect melt. And when they found that, they would put them in really nice bags with toys and so forth and charge people a premium for it. And because most of the market hadn't adapted to this new standard, they had to charge way less for their shit because they weren't curing their product the same. They weren't, taking the time to choose the best strains to really hunt for the best genetics. And now people have caught on. They realized, okay, this is what you gotta do to get better flour. And guess what? The consumer is also tired of being overcharged because the economy is tough, man. Things are way too expensive for you to be out there overpaying and overspending on something that should just be accessible to everybody. And then you still have people that live in different states that are getting whacked. I'm talking about whacked for their product. Because guess what? Their plug has to do this, and the fourth to get the product out to that state. And because of the risk they're taking, they're gonna charge you way more for your product. And even in states like New York, the shit is shifting, bro. The people pushing the most numbers are the people selling the $100, $120, $130, $140 zips of straight gas. Straight gas. So it's like, yes, I was just so happy to see the market finally reach a place like this, baby. Like, we're seeing it happen right in front of our eyes, man. The consumers are getting quality at a price that's realistic. Because most people, bruh, if you're working some random ass job, you ain't getting paid much money, you're not gonna go spend $400 on some shit. You know what I'm saying? And you should have access to really good fire. Even if it's not, you know, the same as $1,000 zip of like some elephant growth OG, who gives a shit? if you're that enthusiastic about it and you're willing to go spend that money and you make a lot of money, you have a lot of extra money sitting around, go do it, bro. I guess it's like kind of the same thing as like buying a designer piece of clothing and buying regular clothes. Like if you have the extra money to go blow on it and you just want it because it's Louis Vuitton, go do it. But back then, it was almost impossible to get good product at an affordable price. And now it's there, it's real, it's happening in real time. And if you're tired of getting whacked by your plug, there's a lot of other ways to work around it now. You don't gotta be upcharged because your plug struggled to get the pack to your state. And in your state, it's not as simple as going to a local shop like it is here in California, here in San Francisco, where you just walk in and make a purchase. Now there's sites that just do it for you, bro. You feel me? Like shout out Hella Slumped. Hella Slumped does it right, baby. You know what I mean? Straight to your doorstep, discreet, all that shit. And you don't have to pay the super upcharged fee that the plugs are trying to charge you. In the next couple months, this is the progression of the industry, is more fire at a lower rate, because that's what the people deserve, baby. That's what the people deserve, and that's the truth. That is the truth. You can't tell me otherwise. This one that I got right now is burning crazy. Burning crazy. And I ain't even been paying attention to it. Another big thing I'm realizing right now is that I would call it about 90% of the people out there don't really know the difference between super good product and average product and bad product. And it's mainly because most people, like, let's just compare this to alcohol right now. They just kind of buy what they see that's on the shelf and that's it, right? So that's why people drink like Buzz Balls and don't really care to know the difference between like a Buzz Ball or like a really like fine aged whiskey that costs, you know, $50 a shot or something. So it's like, same thing with what's going on here in this industry. Most people don't really care to go get the most craziest, fireest shit. And for them to have to walk into a store and kind of be finessed into having to pay like $60 for a 3.5 or something, it's crazy to me. That's just crazy to me. Like $60 for a 3.5? I got 28 G's for 120. Get out of here. Get out of here. I hope that the market keeps developing like this. I was honestly really impressed by a company called Preferred Gardens because they were offering mixed light at around that price point. Like if you knew a plug, you know what I'm saying, and you were able to tap in out there, you were gonna get it at around that price point. And that was really cool to me because they were some of the first ones offering real quality at a super affordable price. And going down to Fontana and getting honestly something that was maybe not as dialed as Preferred, but still very, very good. A good like 9 out of 10 for 120, and it was indoors. I was like, all right, the shit is shifting, baby. The shit is shifting. Beautiful day in the city. So how much should you really be paying for an OZ? Let's break it down. This is what I think for a quality product, you should be paying no more than like $150 a zip. If you're still getting whacked over $150 a zip, you're paying a lot for branding. And maybe some of those brands do have a very specific genetics and cuts, and you really love that genetic and cut, so you're gonna go pay the price because you just really like that one that much. But something a fraction of the price is gonna do the same effect. You're paying a lot more for like the taste and I guess bragging rights that you have it. But the reality of the truth is there is so much good product out in the market now at a way more affordable rate. I think paying anything over $150 regardless of what state you live in, it's just like, you don't need to do that no more. I mean, you can if you really have a string you absolutely love and you want to pay more, go ahead. But I'm here to tell you that the market is changing, baby. The market is changing. and I want to see it continue to change, and I want to see it get even more affordable for the people out there, because people don't deserve to be spending so much money on something that everybody should have access to. Obviously, typically speaking, indoor, mixed light, light depth, outdoor, they all play a role when it comes down to how much you should be paying for your OZ. But I would say now companies like Preferred are giving you mixed light that is equivalent, if not better, than most of the indoor out there in the market at a really good price. So I think that depending on the quality of the flower, regardless of where it was grown, is what you're gonna pay. I remember a time when Stravinsky was pulling out the craziest outdoor, and it puffed insane. So I think categorizing it strictly off where it was grown is starting to shift, you know? I don't think that's the biggest factor anymore. I think a lot of it is coming down to the science of the people that are actually growing this shit, how good they are at it, what kind of genetics they're picking out, how long they take sampling through different strains before they say, this is the one we're gonna plant and grow 1,000 of. Another thing you wanna take into consideration is the difference between commercial grown and a small batch. A small batch is always gonna cost more because they're able to pour so much more energy and time into these small batches. Each single plant gets a lot more care, gets taken care of, basically to a whole nother level, a whole nother degree of quality will come out of that plant, bro. It's like having one kid and being able to pour all your time into that one kid, or having like 10 kids and kind of having to break your time down in between each single kid. Your kids are gonna have way more potential if you could really pour that energy and time into each single one of them. And it's the same thing with these plants. When these people grow commercial, even if they get a really good cut, a really good strain, it's nearly impossible for them to have the manpower to deliver the same kind of quality somebody with a small grow is gonna give you. And typically the people with small grows, they're so passionate, they're obsessed with this concept of giving you the absolute best shit. So I think, in my opinion, those are the only OZs truly worth a lot more money. I think the small batch grows are ultimately the only OZs that should be priced heavy. If you have a commercial grow, if you're running a shit ton of lights and you're trying to whack per OZ, get out of here, bro. Get out of here. Those days are done. The small grows, I understand. You're putting all your time and effort into a lot less plants in hopes that it turns out a lot better than the last run. So I'm gonna give you all that, you know? But besides the small grows, nah, bro. We ain't overpaying for OZs no more. We done with that shit, for real. But what can I say, man? Your boy's been AFK for a long time. I ain't gonna lie. I know. No excuses though, we back. Shout out Hella Slump, the retired to your plug, or simply want to try something new, man. Google Hella Slump as always. Shout out Hella Slump, baby. I'm out, yeah.